Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and this evening we'll be doing a different type of video. As we're moving into the hurricane season, I like to normally have a look at the Atlantic hurricanes, so we've got a lot of data on that and it can influence UK weather. But interestingly, over the last week, with the strongest the strongest ever April typhoon has developed towards the Philippines with Super Typhoon Surigae, which is really bringing exceptional conditions. Luckily, though, it's out in the Pacific Ocean. Now, you can see it on the right of the screen here, towards the Philippines. And if we run through the latest GFS, you can see it maintains sort of course northwards, but offshore. Now, the outer bands of the storm and still strong winds and thunderstorms will be making its way onshore in the Philippines. But at this stage, on its current track, it does look like it will just be heading northwards, staying in the warm water and keeping its strength before heading off northeastwards out back to sea, back out into the middle of the ocean. So, although it's not impacting land, which is a good thing, considering this part of the world did get really hammered by typhoons last year, it is bringing truly exceptional conditions with sustained winds of 190 miles per hour, which is truly exceptional. It will be one of the strongest hurricanes ever if it hit landfall in the United States, and it's coming in April as well. So yeah, truly exceptional storm. If we now have a look at the Weather Channel, you can see this. I've got the cloud loop on, and you can see this big massive cloud, which is the hurricane or typhoon Surigae, and it's just off the coast of the Philippines. But you can see the outer bands, the big thunderstorms on the outside, are still impacting mainland Philippines, but the centre is well offshore. We're moving northwards, sort of towards Taiwan, but it will start to veer northeastwards, and at that stage the track does come a bit more uncertain, but there's not too much land for it to interfere with. So yeah, truly massive cloud. And if we do zoom out, you can see how large it is. As we're looking at the whole of India, China, and Southeast Asia as well, you should see how absolutely massive it is, and how if this did hit land, it would truly be an exceptional storm that would cost a lot of money and would take many lives. We'll next have a look at the radar loop and its current estimated track. Now, there's not great data on it, considering it's out or available in the United Kingdom, as it's out in Southeast Asia, and many of the websites use a European or US based, using their satellites. So it's difficult to get exact current live data, but this is radar future estimates and its current track that it's estimated to have. It is moving relatively slowly at this stage, but it will quicken up its speed. You can see the outer bands are affecting Philippines, but the centre of the storm is well offshore, with the eye wall offshore as well. If we run through the radar loop, this is an estimated radar loop. This is not exactly how it's going to happen, but it's just roughly what it's predicting. You can see big thunderstorms coming onshore, outer bands affecting parts of the Philippines, inevitably giving a lot of rain, but not as much as if we were in the centre of the storm. Perhaps 250 millimetres is quite likely, even on these outer bands, and you can see it just spirals round. And if we can go back to the current conditions, it is going to really be impacting parts of the Philippines. And luckily, though, they will not be getting the biggest gusts and the biggest sustained winds, which are 190 miles an hour in the centre of the storm. Perhaps maybe near 100 mile an hour gusts, perhaps further out. But at this stage, it's looking like most of the big impacts will be offshore. I do suspect, though, there will be some big waves and some big swells coming into these areas. So storm surge is still a risk, even though the main centre of the storm is not going to be impacting any big land masses. Finally, let me just click off that. And finally, if we have a look at the live infrared radar, you can see where the real big convection is in the middle of the storm, but you can also see its outer bands reaching land, and you can see it's a very large system, with some of these reds and whites showing the big high cloud tops, big thunderstorms, and big convective rain spiraling around the centre, and even parts of it impacting parts of land. You can see even perhaps parts of the eye wall even potentially impacting or skimming mainland areas of Philippines, but not bringing the biggest impacts, which are likely to stay offshore. If we go through the loop, you can see how it's spiraling around, chucking out convection outwards from the centre, and you can see it does reach many areas of the Philippines, but none of the real super typhoon conditions, which are in this sort of main whitey and pink area in the eye wall, are going to be affecting any mainland areas at this stage. And you can see this is the run over the last few hours. So yeah, big impacts to come from this, and it perhaps is a sign to come, unfortunately, for these areas, as we've had a temperature, quite a positive temperature anomaly for sea surface temperatures in Southeast Asia and the Western Pacific. So that could perhaps could give some quite decent conditions for big typhoons to spawn, which is not good for many of these areas which are already struggling with the devastation from last year's typhoon season, and the pandemic, of course. So yeah, it's really one to watch with these big storms. And it's really unfortunate that it is likely to continue like this. Just luckily, though, this one big super typhoon is not going to be impacting any mainland areas, and is luckily going to maintain offshore. But yeah, we're following these sort of storms and more hurricanes as we move into the summer, as hurricane season starts in about a month's or so time. I'm not expecting any big hurricanes, at least until maybe July, August, and this year perhaps is another year where we could be seeing above average hurricanes in the Atlantic. So it will probably not top 2020, which was the biggest amount of storms on record, but it is looking like at this stage, with some of the patterns and the positive anomaly of sea surface temperatures, it's looking like we could be seeing another big hurricane season. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.